the ability to attend, right, and participate in those user groups, which I think is, for me, it's literally changed my life.
I am going through the worst period of burnout right now.
For me, some of the things is about not necessarily the right way, but so much even how to test later.
This video is made possible by resolutions out of office for Jira and JSM. Don't block your team's progress during the summer holiday and set covers for your work. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Summer of Atlassian. Today I got Sarah Wright. We're going to be having such a fun conversation. This is probably the third time. This is the third time we speak.
Technically the third. Yes. I forgot about our impromptu, like, Jira outage 2024. So yeah.
Wasn't that fun? What did you think? Let's start there. What was your thought process? You see a message, emergency meeting. What's going on through Sarah's head?
Well, first of all, what I loved about it was the fact that that was the first time. So I'd only become an Atlassian creator, right? Like maybe a month or so before. So we have access to each other. And I was noticing some things going down. And then I thought, I got, all these people I can go check in with and say, are you guys having the same problem? And, and everybody's like, no, I'm fine. And then a minute later, it was like, no, we're not fine. And yeah, the emergency meeting. And so, I just went for it. I felt like I was literally on the edge of a pool diving in because you all are my first podcast. So I thought, what better time to do it? And then I was, honestly a little starstruck, a little awestruck because I've been seeing you guys on LinkedIn for so long and thought, no, it's me.
That's my favorite part about this whole thing, though, right? Because it doesn't really matter who you are as long as you care for this community for Atlassian. Like, we're more than happy to have you on.
So you're going to have to like shut me down sometimes, friend, because I get a little, I don't even know what the right word is. People always told me when it came to working with the Atlassian products that like they would see me light up, right? So I kind of took that as I probably should not just do
I
this
don't
as
think that that's going to be a problem here. If anything, we're just going to roll right into the Jira life.
excellent. Yeah, right.
Two
We'll
hours.
just stand for the next 2 hours.
Yeah.
Oh, well, see, and that's perfect, right? Because, well, I knew her as Marie, who is going to be the guest over there. She was part of the Atlassian group. So see, that's why I had to go in here. So this is, I feel like a
Where did
little
you get that
dog.
shirt from?
I know, right? That's how long I've been around. I love this shirt. Atlassian, bring this back.
Back.
This is the best shirt.
This is
Atlassian
an
used to
official
make.
Atlassian shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. So if I turn around, it's on the back. So we're going to be like, I'm that excited puppy, right? Who's like, hi, you're new. Let me show you all of my toys.
Yeah. That's going to be an interesting conversation with Reed because Reed didn't tell me this, but Joanna did. I got the Atlassian certified jacket, the Atlassian certified expert jacket, and Joanna's like, you gotta wait till you get them all before you put that one on.
Oh, see, I know they've got such good swag game going on there, don't they?
Yeah,
Because
I got one
remember
cert down, so many more to go.
I remember I was standing in line checking in for Summit, and I think it was 2019. Because I say Summit because I've only been to Summits. I haven't had a chance to go to Team yet. But I do remember there was a guy behind me, like, and I had an Atlassian expert jacket on, and I was like, that's really cool. Like, how did I get one?
You apparently got to pass a bunch of tests and or be at the right place at the right time because Ree had a present for me. She gave me like this little swag bag, but all the Atlassian certified experts they were kind of told to go into like this back room during like as soon as I got off the stage, I was doing like a little talk at Teams 24, and as soon as I got done, like they were like, "Hey, back here, we got some stuff." Oh yeah, I did a panel on like tips on how to get your first certification because I just got
Oh,
my first one, right? So right after she was like, "Hey, we have some. If you have your certifications, come over here. We got like some swag." And they had boxes and boxes of the jackets, and so I grabbed my jacket. But Joanna was like, not yet. Not yet.
Exactly. You can't be a T-bird yet.
Yeah,
Sorry,
not
that's a
yet.
Reese reference, right? Like, you gotta go through the whole initiation.
So
Yeah,
it's
but I
I'm holding on to it.
so I did earn my jacket.
Did you?
When I started, yeah, so, just about 18 months ago, 19 I don't know, some number of months ago, October of 2022, I started working, with Valiantus, an Atlassian partner, and so one of the things we got to do, right, and I say get to, right? I got to, I wasn't forced to in my mind, get certifications, and because 'cause I'd always wanted to, and so I think I got one many years ago, a data center project manager, and then I think I have 6 or 7 now, maybe? Something
I
like
I wish I could just take tests like people, man. I will pay money. I will give Atlassian money to not take the certification.
that. Exactly. Like, what will it cost? Well,
Yeah.
and that's something, I know people have been asked, there have been some posts on LinkedIn about the certification process, right? And it is like I think a lot about accessibility on multiple levels and, what if there is anything they can do for people for those certifications, where you might have that test anxiety or you might need some other method of test taking the same way, we do for kids in school, to help people be able to exhibit that expertise in a way that is more comfortable for them. So that's something I hope, I that they can do with. And now you, of course, though, as I've heard the legend of you and your test taking and then totally crushing it afterwards. So
That was totally unintentional. I was so mad at the end. I was so mad because when I went in and took that test, I just tallied off 39 correct questions that without a shadow of a doubt in my gut I knew were right. And I'm
right.
like, hit submit.
Oh, so you just like not even
Well,
no
I mean,
going
I
back.
took it once and then I came back the second time and I just counted to
Okay.
39 and then I was like,
Yeah.
punch it. Right? I was like,
Yeah.
punch it. And I'm like, damn, got a
Yeah.
93. Had I just taken another minute or two, I might have been able to get a couple more.
You could have been, I don't know, are there 100 any perfect test takers out there? And then
I
do
don't
you
know. I
get
was asking,
investigated if you are?
yeah, I was asking Joanne about that. I think there've been a few people that have gotten almost perfect, but I don't know that she said that there was a perfect. But
Yeah.
I think I am in like the top 10% though at that point. But to be fair, the ATP 520 is the easiest one to take if you're gonna take one.
I think I don't remember all of my scores, but I do think I got an 86 or an 89 on my first one. So I was pretty pumped. That I was like,
The
okay.
test taking is one part, but the other annoying part is, and I think I mean this is why I'm excited to talk with Ree in a couple of hours because I had a teacher, I had a professor at St. Louis. I was when I was at WashU, and my professor, like his name was Christian Espinosa, and he had like I don't know 150 characters after his name from all the certificate. Because in cybersecurity, there's like so many
Oh my
certifications,
god.
right? There's like 1,000 of them, and so he had like at least 15, right? And he's like I'm the probably the most qualified person to be teaching this class, but you also my job is literally just his work is literally to maintain the certifications because
Yeah, yeah, right.
they're
That's
all
what it
expired
becomes.
at different times and you got different requirements. And so he's like, I'm teaching this class just so I can clear out like 7 of them.
Well, and there again, not to make this all about the certifications, but that I am very excited. Okay, so we're going to bring this all back around, right? Because we've got our certifications, and then we got me, the little puppy who needs to show you all my toys, which takes me back to user groups in the Atlassian User Unite. And because, the ability to attend, right, and participate in those user groups, which I think is for me, it's literally changed my life being in participating in user groups. I tell this sort of silly, like my Atlassian origin story goes back. I can't remember. 2008, 9, something like that. When I had a friend who started using Confluence and would talk, and Tom Crosby, hi friend. He would talk and talk and talk and talk and talk about Confluence. And I'd be like, okay, I really had no idea what he was talking about. And then I went to work for a small software. Like I'm talking maybe 15-person-ish software company, and started using Confluence and started using Jira, and he and I went out to lunch and I was like, "Yeah, we're using this software. It's so cool. Like I love everything we can do. It's an amazing tool." And then he's going, that's what I've been talking to you about for the past few years." I was like, "Now I
Like,
got it. Now
it,
I
like,
understand." Because I could do so, like, first of all, they gave me admin rights, woo, and so I could do so much with it, and I ended up publishing our user documentation using Confluence, and this was my first job in, sort of IT. I'd always just been, "Oh, she understands it, she can do that stuff," even though her job is, like, helping out with training or coordinating, administrating, whatever. It's just I always kinda naturally took to the IT stuff. Um, and then I just forgot where I was going with that, but so it was my first job in real IT. And I could kinda speak both sides to like, "Hey, you're a user and here's these things," and, "Oh, you're the developer and here's some information you wanna know," having literally not a clue, um, about all of these different roles that were inside of IT because, giving away my age, whatever, a lot of,
you're not a day over 35.
exactly, exactly. You have no idea the soft focus I have going on here legit is like high. And then so I'm looking in the camera, I'm like, "Ooh," and then I go look in the mirror and I'm like, "Oh, no, no, I need a soft focus mirror, friend." Um,
Can you imagine
so
if that was a thing?
what was that?
Can you imagine if that was like a thing, like every mirror was just like a soft
I
focus?
know,
Like,
I
talk
know.
about a great use of AI.
Exactly. Or like everybody should get glasses, like like for real beer goggles. Where people just actually, like, "Oh, yes, everybody looks good when I put on these glasses." And then you can tune it, right, to what looks good for you,
Right,
oh my
yeah,
god,
because beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
right?
Dude, you can make
Which
everybody look beautiful at that point.
so one of my favorite shows is Red Dwarf. Not a lot of people have
Never
necessarily
heard of
heard of it. It's a really old, and if you have, yay, give us a like. There was I won't go into it all, but it's a British comedy sci-fi from the 80s that keeps coming back. And one of the things they have in there is called a gelf, a genetically engineered life form. And its power, right, is that it can turn into anything you want. So it'll appear one way to one person, it'll appear another way to like another alien species or whatever. So yeah, so that would be ideal. Have right now my low tech way says, let's get glasses so everybody can look exactly the way we want them to.
it.
All right, so
That's
going
that's
back,
what makes
so
Jira so special, though, it brings us all together.
exactly, exactly. Um, but
So
going
you're in
back to
your IT gig, you're using Atlassian.
yes, and so yeah, so and then talking about like when I was in high school, nobody was not nobody, but not that many people were talking about going into IT. And if they were talking about it, they were the guys, right? Like I remember doing yearbook on one of the very, very early Macs. The screen, I'm holding it up right because the screen was like this big. Can you imagine trying to, well, you just produced a book. Yay, my copy comes tomorrow.
Oh,
Um,
right, yeah, it launches tomorrow, right? Tomorrow's the launch
yes,
date.
yes, yes, so excited.
I'm still waiting for my copy.
Oh, no way. That's crazy. But yeah, so we did a whole yearbook layout stuff, on this little bitty thing. So, and my brother, who's 9 grades older than me, he went to Rolla. So you'll know about Rolla, Missouri Science and Tech, and college now. And so I had computers kind of around me, but I didn't know all the things you could do with them, and I didn't know about all the different roles associated with them. So it was just so eye opening when I finally in my mid 30s started getting introduced, so that was last year, right? Now started getting introduced to all of these different roles and concepts and all the things and like building products, and it was so exciting. And then to start learning about agile, and and start to learn how to craft the tool in order to enable us to do the things that we needed to do. I don't know, it still is awesome. It's awesome. Right?
It is, and it's such an interesting perspective. My first job out of college was in IT, and I dreaded it. I dreaded the whole time, and I was in IT probably from 2010 all the way until 2016. And in
And then
2016, I finally became an engineer.
gotcha.
And it was mainly, and I think the reason I dreaded it was because I got an engineering degree, but I always felt like for 6 years, I'm like, well, I want to do engineering and not IT. But I dread IT, or I dread engineering now more than I dread IT. So now I'm back in IT.
But that's awesome that you, like that you did it, right? That now you had that ability to compare and contrast
Right. And I
between
go, yep, I was
those
definitely
2
better
things.
off on the other side.
Right. I thought I was going to grow up and be an English teacher. I was fully set, right? I was like, "I love reading. I should be an English teacher or a literature teacher, and I wanna teach kids." And then I went to college, and then I was like, "What was I thinking? This is not." And, and but I kept going down this path and ended up with a communication degree. And then I was like, "Okay, now what do I do?" And so but then somehow it all works. Going from a communication degree and then, I don't have like this career, right? My career doesn't isn't like college, this. My career is more just like all these experiences that sort of built all on top of each other to finally come to the situation I'm in.
Yeah, and it's very special that way too, right? Because I think a lot of people do tend to think like it's a straight progression, but I like to tell people I'm like I use 0% of my numerous degrees today.
Right? I'd like to think I use some of my communication degrees
I
still,
take pride in
but
knowing I don't use any of it though. Because I'm very anti-college now. um, I'm more of like
me too.
you gotta just know your stuff, right? As long as you're good, it's hard for people to ignore you. And there's a lot of value in just building something yourself, right? And so a lot of people, it hurts me. I had a couple of interns when I was at Northrop Grumman in San Diego. They were elite, like top of their class, and 17 years old, coming to work at Northrop for free as part of their college or school
Yeah.
credit, right? And I had opportunity. Like these kids were so smart, and one of them went to Columbia. And we sat down and we did the math one day. I'm like, dude, you're gonna spend $373,000 for
Right.
your degree at Columbia. And I'm like, the payback, right? I'm like, at 100, even at $100,000 salary, 120 as a software engineer, right? Losing taxes in California, right?
Yes.
All the deductions and everything. I'm like, it's gonna take you like 40 years to pay off that $373,000 degree.
Yeah.
Versus some like in coding or development or even in IT, right? So much of it can be just self-taught,
Mhm.
right? And you don't really need that paper.
Yeah, and a lot of what I did, right? And I'm sure you, right? We teach ourselves all the time. We follow those same things of like I'm gonna break it and try to fix it, or I'm gonna take it apart and try to put it back together, right? And
Right.
or somebody else broke it, I'm gonna try to help fix it for them. And those are the ways we learn.
No,
And then they
absolutely.
stick a little better. And so,
I had a Yeah, I had a teacher in a professor in college where I took a computer repair class, and his philosophy was like, all these computers are already broken, so you can't break them anymore. They're already
uh-huh,
broken, so might as well learn how to fix them. and
exactly.
and that I was able to carry that principle to a bunch of other stuff, right? So a lot of people usually ask me a lot of jerk questions, and it's scary to be asked so many jerk questions because half the time I'm on the hook for like payment, right? Like people are expecting an answer from an expert, and the other half the time it's just like just in the community type of thing. But in either case, um, it's a tremendous amount of pressure to have the right answer.
Yes.
And my latest approach is like, well, I don't know how to do it, but let's go see if we can reproduce it. So I'll take people on the journey to like, okay, can I reproduce the problem first of
Yep.
all, right? And then now that I can reproduce the problem, how do we fix it? Most of the time, you can't fix it.
Right, 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 and isn't that awful?
Yeah, there's this
One of one of
there's
the
this
things
guy
that
that
I
go ahead.
used to, so one of my jobs was working in, like, a MarTech area, and kind of had a joke there, where we were working with Adobe Experience Manager and building out componentry and working with our marketing department, and they'd be like, "We want it to do this, this, and this, and this," and I'd always come back with, became a joke. I'm like, "I'm going to be able to make you 60% happy," because all these things, everybody gets in their head these ideas of, well, it should be able to do this, and it should be able to do that, and it should be, and I was just like, "We're just going to tell you right now." Right. Because this is why I don't do sales. Because I'm like, no, we're probably gonna get you like 60% happy, and then we'll look at those other things that may not be possible. And so then at first when I working with Atlassian practice, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get to say yes. There's so many things. And I'm like, lesson learned. There are still things. There's always going to be things people want that just aren't possible right now, right? Or that just don't make sense right now and for whatever reasons. But I am able to say yes to a lot more. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that's another interesting thing about the Atlassian community because it's Jira or the Atlassian tools, but focusing just on Jira. It's so powerful, right? It can do a whole lot of stuff. And even me, I spend 12 to 14 hours a day, and it just like it's so many things are still scary about it. There's just so many things that like I don't touch or experiment too much with, and like I'm learning every day as well, which is an interesting thing because like it just goes to show like I can't imagine that there's one person on earth that knows like everything about this tool.
And that's where like my heart starts racing and I go like almost a literal panic sometimes when I get asked questions, because I want to know the answer, right? I feel like, well, they're coming to us. We have this, I need to have this expertise in literally everything, which would I expect somebody else? No, but I put that on myself, right? That says
Right.
I have to go know these things. But then you realize, like, yes, you have these whole communities, whether they're the communities, within your own organization, and then the greater Atlassian community, and that was
The
again,
odds,
what was that?
the odds on your shirt.
Oh,
Like
yes,
that's
yes.
one of the benefits of having going to these user events, right? Because you hear the different problems that other people have, and you're like, oh, I have that same problem, or maybe you've already solved that problem, and you can share that, right? So there's a tremendous amount of value in going to these, not even just networking, not even just eating the food, but but
We're meeting all the fun speakers.
yeah, or meeting the fun speakers, especially the ones that drive for 6 hours to get to a location.
Yeah. Well, and the other part, like so many things, those things also, the more you put into them, the more you can get out of them, right? Because a lot of times, and it's very natural for, we just want to go, right? Even just here, right? People just might be here. I just want to consume some content, right? And so it's very passive. But being active in those communities really does reap a lot of benefits from that, because I think people get, some of that. I don't want to bring up my problem, right? Because I don't want to look like I'm that person who doesn't know what I'm doing or whatnot. But we always try to encourage in the events, like, hey, everybody, come and ask your questions because you've got this whole room full of people who are here to help. And when I was at Enterprise Rent a Car, we had an internal user community too, which again, anybody who's watching this, if you've got a company, internal user groups are fantastic. There's so much content out there that you can bring in and just start conversations with them. And to the point, right, like getting in there and having to know everything, the way it's changing. I mean, so fast. I heard on
Oh,
another
it
one of the
changes
shows, wasn't it like 1,000 release, like 1,000 things a year,
well,
something
every
like
day they
that?
push something in production.
Yes. Like
Every
today I found, and I don't know if, and then I start going, was this here and I just never realized it, or is this totally new? Like I
Is it the
really,
program in
like,
the jar?
what was that?
Is it the program in the jar?
No, I don't know about this.
The Jira Advanced Roadmaps, they have a new program button that you can click into.
I'll
That just
have to
popped
check
out of
it.
nowhere somewhere. I was doing a training and I'm like, huh, that button wasn't there yesterday.
Right?
Wonder what it does.
So today it was within your pinned fields, you could drag and reorder those.
I did not know you can do that.
Yeah, I don't remember that either. And that there again, it's because like I'm so aware of like UI and accessibility, and I'm like, cool. Now it's not just like throw this thing up here. Now I get to say I want it just exactly this way for myself when I'm working on these things.
I think it's one of the bigger pain points though of Jira, right? Because Atlassian pushes so many changes to them daily. Not everything gets documented,
What do you
right?
mean?
This reorder your pin. There's like at least a monthly email that Atlassian sends out, like, hey, here's the cool stuff. And if you are in the cloud, you can do the package releases. I don't know
Yeah,
if you right. Like
yes,
you don't have to accept every change every day as they come
yes.
in. Like you can bulk edit or bulk push them out and, after you review them. But that generates an email with like, here's a summary of like all the stuff that you're gonna get now. And so I leverage those two things to kind of get the latest and greatest. But there's simple stuff like in March, Atlassian, the little gear on the top right corner to do the everything really as an
Yes.
admin.
And
They swapped out. Yeah, remember?
right.
You just can't swap out a button that I memorized by into memory, into deep memory, and then all of a
Yeah.
sudden just move it to another spot. Like those little things never make it into any documentation.
Have you ever watched that 70s show?
Some shows, but not. I've never binge watched it.
Maybe because that 70s wasn't your time, but I love that 70s show.
I was born in '89, so
Yeah. We're just glossing over that. But in that 70s show, there's an episode where they're gonna redo the basement and the guy comes in and he just shifts everything 2 inches to the left.
oh
And
my
they're like,
god.
"What'd you do?" And he's like, "I call it 2 inches to the left," because it's like I think it's Cheech and Chong, it would be Chong. I can't remember his name. But I digress. Anyway, so the ongoing joke through that episode though is that whenever they go down into the basement, they keep running into the furniture
Because it's
because
not
they're so used to the placement being where it
to
was
the right.
that, 2 inches just made such a difference for them. We're like, ow, ow. And that's how I feel about sometimes those little UI tweaks where you're like, ah,
Oh my
what did
gosh,
I
tell me
do?
about it. I moved in January, and my previous house, it had the sink was on the island,
Oh yeah.
and my new house, the sink is along the wall. And so for like at least 2 or 3 weeks, the amount of time that I went to that island to wash my hands
Yes.
and be greeted with nothing.
And do you get to the point too where you're even like, wait, like your hands go out and
Yeah,
you're
I
like,
know. I'm like ready to turn on the water. I'm like, what happened to my sink? Why isn't it here?
exactly. And I am terrible to my kids because in my head, I feel like there's some sort of perfect utopian organization scheme I can do in my kitchen, right? That like everything's going to have the perfect place to sit in. And so I'm constantly trying to attain that. And so I'll be like, the silverware should be here and the cups should be here. And now I have this utensil holder over here. And so then my kids are emptying the dishwasher and they're just like in the kitchen, like, I don't even know where to go now
My
because
wife does that to me all the time. She'll like move things, and I'm just staring at the stuff, and she's just like, "What are you looking for?" I'm like, "Something that used to be there 20 minutes ago,
yes.
and now it's not there." She's like, "Oh yeah, that whole department has been relocated to that site." And I'm like, "You could have like I don't know, send out a memo or something."
I love that it's the whole department is moved, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, my wife are both engineers, and we're both in this thing together, so we get to crack very nerdy jokes together.
and and I that's something I was thinking about when I was thinking about you and Atlassian, etc. And all the obviously right team being their ticker tape, right? Everything's about team. And I was thinking like you've got I love your home team. I mean, because I know people talk about like home team and whatever, but you really do. Like you've got that home team that you guys are working together on your podcast, etc. I don't
Yeah,
just
it's a special thing. I don't think a lot of people can appreciate it. It does. I don't think that we would have been able to pull it off if we weren't so similar.
oh, yeah?
Because my wife and I like like me buying something for the business or something like that, like it's not just a toy for me, it's like it's something for the four of us, right? And so it makes our decisions a little bit easier because like we have similar needs at this point,
Yeah.
as opposed to me forcing one of them or my wife into liking something that she just clearly doesn't like.
'Cause I mean, what you produce is, is a lot. You're able to produce. Because I keep thinking about that, like, how do you do the full-time job and these podcasts
A
and
lot of a
working in your
lot of Saturday morning 5 a.m. calls. That's how.
oh my god.
It's the
That's
only way. But you should see what we got on the docket. Like we are planning basically September forward right now. And I
awesome.
looked at my wife and I'm like, "Is this crazy?" And she's like, "Uh."
Do you ever feel burnt out?
I am going through the worst period of burnout right now.
Oh, no.
Dude, right now, just I I don't know how to say no to stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I feel like right now I'm probably I've never felt burnt out before, but I think right now I'm just kind of like over it. And and I jokingly tell like my family, I'm like, there's gonna be a day where I retire and I just buy an alfalfa farm, and just
Nice.
never even go on the internet ever. I'm just gonna become like Amish or something.
Right, don't you feel that sometimes? I know,
But
you
like
look around and you're just like, "That works." I'm reading, for the first time, the, All Creatures Great and Small. I don't know if you've ever heard of those. Again, our we got a generational gap here,
yeah,
friend. So, like, I remember my mom reading these books when I was younger. I don't know exactly when they came out, but either way, it's about a veterinarian. It's kind of his stories, his memoirs, if you will, over in I forgot which county in Yorkshire. I want to say he was in Yorkshire in the UK, and he's writing about his time in the 30s. And there's always that level of wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't that be nice? Not like I mean the work was really hard and whatnot, but the work was only the work and it wasn't like consuming every part of his life. That he was a vet, and yeah, sure, he might have to work odd hours and whatnot. I don't know, but there was ability to step away. There was, I think a lot about job satisfaction and how, like, yes, I solved this problem for this cow. and and like how great that must feel at the end of the day. And while I'm proud of the work and I'm excited when I'm able to deliver some things, right? It's not I delivered a cow today. So that can be challenging. And I think that's what, yeah, like what would, and your book is out. Like, so is that pumping you back up
no,
to
that's what like I'm just so numb to everything right now.
right?
That, like I I may have bitten more than I can chew. I'm realizing. But at the same time, I think I'm conditioning myself because the plan we got for the fall is just 10 times harder than what I've done this summer. And I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I do see a tunnel or a light at the end of a tunnel. That tunnel just happens to be very, very long.
Okay, so break it down for me, friend. You are, because I was really okay. And here I'm gonna do my look at Atlassian Answers.
Does that website still exist?
I don't think so, but I love. But again, I have these old things that I love pulling out, and I say old like they're old. They're you know only marginally younger than you. Okay, so what does Alex all do? Alex has a full time job. Alex does this
The YouTube
podcast.
channel. Yeah, the main YouTube channel.
Okay.
We got the Jira Life.
Uh huh.
We have trainings through the Atlassian live trainings that I do.
Yeah.
I
How
speak
often?
almost weekly now.
No. Are they
Yeah,
looking for more people?
it's been expanding quite intense. Like they're adding a lot of folks. It started off with Jimmy, myself, Kate from Apps Physio, Apps. What's her name? Apps something. I should
Yes.
know this. Her Kate, that Kate, and and Rob Heen.
Yes.
It was like just us, and then like now it's like there's a dozen of us now.
And so are you doing 1 training a week? Because, like, I cannot go online right now without seeing you, friend.
Yeah.
You are all over my stuff.
it, it's because yes. So right now, this month I did 3. I had originally committed to 4, but I'm just tired, right? I'm
Yeah,
just physically drained. So I'm like,
take it.
I'll stick to 3. So, but yeah, it'll
Okay,
be 3 to 4 a week, a month. So basically 1 a week.
exactly. Okay, what else?
Well, the book's done, so that was taking up a
Yes.
huge part. But now comes all the marketing stuff. But yeah, being an author. I mean, I'm working on the next set of stuff with respect to books. Um, do I do then? Let's see, what else do I have going on? I don't know.
Oh,
No.
full-time father.
Well, yeah. So then there's the whole house thing. I'm an only child, and my parents are getting a little older, so I get to take care of them, and so I do that. Then there's maintaining and running a pool, which is a full-time job. I've learned. I've learned that I've now become a chemist in the last 6 months.
That is good. Are you guys like a salt or a chlorine?
Chlorine for now, but I'm questioning life choices right now too.
You're right.
I'm
So,
just
but
questioning everything at this point.
well, okay, so then I'm curious, is there anything you don't do that you would like to do or things that you feel like you're missing?
I have a very specific goal, and the thing that we want to do that we're actively working on is to make our own software. So we're working for the last year since Team 23 for the last year and a half. My wife and I have been working on a plugin, but it's not easy to make these things, especially when you're alone, right? Like I think it's easier like if you're a company or something, but making your own plugin and stuff like that, like Alaska's documentation when it comes to APIs and all their being a developer side of the house, it's a lot of trial and error.
Well,
A
and
lot of
getting
trial
back to
and
the idea that it changes a lot,
error. Right. Yeah,
right?
permissions and all that stuff. So we've been working on that. So I my goal would be, I mean, I look up to Martin Siebert, right? Just at that level, $100 million business, running like a big giant solution partner type of thing. That
So the
would be the
music
end game. But at the same time, I'm also trying to figure out how can I sustain my life without having to speak to people.
but yet 40% of your life is speaking to people,
Right,
so
but that's the burnout part. I keep
I
telling my son, I'm like, there's got to be a way to make a living without having to interact with human beings.
are you an introvert or an extrovert? Like, is this your out of your comfort zone to be doing these things?
I don't know. I used to suffer really bad from imposter syndrome. That was the biggest thing that I had. Very lack of confidence. I was always big on like leadership type of things. When I was in college, I there's have you ever heard of the ACM, the Association for Computing Machinery?
Okay, now I have. Yes, yes,
Yeah,
I've heard
well,
about it. Just
it's a professional. Have you heard of like IEEE, the International Electrical Engineering?
yes?
Yeah, so it's like the IEEE, which is for electrical engineering, but this one's for
Okay,
computer scientists.
got it.
So it's a global or professional organization of folk, and so there's student chapters in your local universities, and so I ran to run one, or I guess I did ran because I had to get elected and all that good stuff, and I became the president of one. And I remember I had like 5 of my closest friends, including my wife, and I dragged them all onto the front, and I'm like, "We're doing this," and we took this club from like 6 people, 5 of which were my friends, and I dragged them on to be my VP, treasurer, and all that stuff, and we grew that club to like a few hundred people,
That's awesome.
and that was like the first moment of my life where I'm like, maybe this is kind of like I like doing this stuff. A lot of coordination, a lot of. My wife and I like to say that I'm like the Steve Jobs and she's my Steve Wozniak.
I love it.
The problem is though, the existential problem that I have is I don't get, and this is gonna sound bad, but my wife from a like she's really good at execution, right? Like I can tell her what to do, she'll go do it. But I don't have any fulfillment or not fulfillment, but I
Mhm.
need what I desire, what I seek the most is another like visionary to stimulate me.
Yeah.
And I haven't found that. And I think that's why I'm most burned out, because it's me, my wife's like, give me direction, give me what you need, give me what you want. And I'm like, great, here, take it. She's like, I'm like, I have a wall to wall whiteboard, literally from like 15 feet of whiteboard of just all the stuff that we got going on. But where I struggle the most is like figuring out what I want to do next. And I
Yeah.
just haven't been able to find somebody that we can, banter
Have you thought
or
about hiring a coach?
I need someone like a Chris Cook, right? Or somebody like an Andy, fun man Andy, who's like they're always running, 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 because I need that energy to then me figure out what that guy how to create the stuff that I need to create. But those guys are so crazy busy, right? Like it's impossible to get even an hour with them.
But again, we're talking about like not somebody to mimic, right? Or not somebody to do exactly like them, but more so that coach, right? Because you could, like, I mean, the obvious reference to the sports, right? That like you can be on a team with somebody who's really outstanding, but just being on the team with them or doing what they're doing isn't the thing that's going to make you great. But it's that coach.
But I don't think it's the coach though, because
Oh, we're gonna fight about this,
I
friend.
don't feel like I'm lost. I don't feel like I'm like I don't feel like I need a guide. I just feel like I need to be in the room with the energy.
Oh, and so obviously you know you better. My thinking with the coach is it's just that the coach can help give you that feedback, right? If you are not sure what you want to be doing, they almost like the therapist, right? Helping you find the
Yeah.
clarity.
What I think I would probably need then is more like a master class where it's like a group of people that are going through
That's
my
an interesting
same
point.
journey, right? Where we're all because I don't I feel like I got a million ideas. I don't have a problem there. It's just like just motivating myself to like come up with like push the boundaries and stuff like that. Like I don't know. I feel like I need somebody who's like thinks as crazy as me.
Well, and then your challenge is going to be when you hit your goal, then what? I mean, because then you're just sustaining software, right? You
have
got to
you
sustain the
have you heard the story of the fisherman and the lawyer in New York from New York and Mexico?
I don't think so.
There's a story of because my mom tells me this all the time, right? So I'm an only child, and um, I obviously get to inherit my family, right? Like, and so my mom's like, "Why do you work so hard?" She's like, right? Like, she's like, "I don't understand how you don't have time for your like for like cousins and her and stuff of that nature." Where she's like, "You don't need anything anymore, right?"
Uh-huh.
My cost of living right now is we've done the math. It's about $2,500 a month. With $2,500, I got everything covered: food,
Wow.
utilities, insurance, everything. Right? So I'm like, it's such a low cost of living that I'm like working at McDonald's, I can clear $2,500 a month,
Uh-huh.
right? So my mom's like, "Why are you working so hard?" I'm like, "I don't know, because my mind can't stop." Right? My mind, I can't shut it down. And so the story of this fisherman is like this hotshot New York lawyer goes to like Cancun or some resort area in Mexico, and he ventures off the beaten path and he finds this like fisherman who's like playing in the plaza selling fish, right? And he's like, "Hey, you're selling your fish. Like, where do you get your fish from?" He's like, "Oh, I go out in my boat and I fish and I get enough for my family, and then I bring the leftovers and I give it out to I come here and I sell the leftovers, right? And just play my guitar and just
Yeah.
chill in the plaza." And he's like, "Well, you should get like a bigger boat so you can get more fish and sell more." And he's like, "And then what?" He's like, "Well, then you get like a couple people to go out with you and you catch more." He's like, "And then what?" He's like, "Well, then you get like two boats or three boats." Right? They each get their own boat and they all each have their own crew and you like get even more. He's like, "Then what?" He's like, "Well, then you sell nationwide." He's like, "And then what?" He's like, "Well, then you go international." And then he's like, "And then what?" He's like, "Well, then once you're international, we set you up with like a global trade and like we'll set you up in New York and you'll run like the biggest conglomerate of fish trade." And the guy's like, "And then what?" He's like, "Well, that's the best part. Once you built this entire empire, you sell it." And then he's like, "And then what?" He's like, "Well, then you retire and you move to a small town in Mexico and you get enough fish for your to feed you and your family and you play your guitar in the plaza." And he's like,
Yes.
"Isn't that what I'm doing right now?" He's like, so I kind of sometimes feel like that, where it's like, is any of this even worth it?
Right?
Because
Right.
I'm at the point where I can just afford to just sit on the guitar.
Yeah. And yeah, I think it's a matter of where, what your own personal goal is out of it, right? Because that was something I was thinking about. And I've seen a lot of people talking about it too on LinkedIn recently. Like, why are we doing this? Because I even wanted, and I might still do it, right? Just throw out there on LinkedIn. And I really want to ask people, why are you here? And that is a genuine question of, what is bringing people to LinkedIn? What are they looking for? What is is it mindless scrolling? Cool. Yeah. And then on the other side of it, when I first started posting more on LinkedIn, it was the same thing for me. And where it started with me was, I didn't want to spam all my colleagues with all my stuff. So I was like, I'll put it on LinkedIn, and then I'm not cluttering up our internal channels. And realize that when I was doing it for me, right, just to get the thoughts and the whatnot out of my head, and if some other people are finding benefit from it, great, right? And maybe that's the wrong focus, because it was like, focus on your customer, which I would love to. I hope I'm providing benefit for them, but there also is just a level of it this is just what I need to do for me too, right? And so
Yeah,
I'm thinking about you. I'm turning it. I'm letting the Alex Ortiz be the star of Alex Ortiz
I
shows.
know, right? It's like I was interviewing somebody recently, and they started asking me questions. I'm like, wait, hold up. This isn't supposed to work this way. I ask you the question, but then
Exactly.
I can see this as my own therapy session.
Exactly.
I
Maybe
will
this is
tell
why you
you,
do it.
yeah, I will tell you that over the last 7 months, I've learned what I don't want to do, and I think that's probably as valuable, if not more valuable, right? Because I now, in all aspects of my life, only work and do things that I find joyful,
Oh, that's awesome.
right?
That's yeah.
And I think that's probably because I don't think I'll ever be able to stop working, right? Like I said,
Right.
I can't turn off my brain, but I now only take opportunities that I care for, that I feel like are important to me.
Well, and yeah, and then there's the reward for the hard work, right? Is because now you've found yourself in a position to do that.
Yeah. So it's easier for somebody that's asking me for this or that, and I'm like, nah, not today.
It's kind of like the thing here, but like actors talk about, right? Or musicians, that they
Only
have
take
to
the
take
gigs I
like
want.
they got to take the crap for a while in order to get the popularity to open it up, and then let them, have the roles
Yeah.
that they really wanted to do from the beginning, but
Yeah,
they
I do know that the thing I get the most joy though is in the training, right? So just teaching people, I think people really resonate with the way I teach, my like just the style and my tones and stuff. And so that would be the part that I want to do the most. But I have a chicken and egg situation, right?
yeah.
Because it's not scalable for me to stand up in front of an audience and teach, because I have to go stand up in front of an audience and teach, and I
Yes,
can't be in two
you
places.
might have to interact with people. It
Yeah.
could
Well,
be
no,
part
and
of
that and I can't be in two places at the same time, right? And so there's like this, like, okay, so how do I build this so that I can teach passively, right? But it takes a tremendous amount of time and energy to build something good, right?
I repeat that for the people in the back of the audience.
It takes a tremendous amount of time and it takes a tremendous amount of time and energy to build something that you're proud of, right? Something good,
Mhm.
something that I actually want to put out in the world. And so that's kind of where I'm stuck, because I'm like, I have every intention to just not ever I have every intention of never helping someone with the Jira problem. But me helping someone with the Jira problem puts food on the table.
Mhm.
And since it takes so much effort and energy to create an app, to create that software, to create a catalog of training material, to write a book, right? The book took 9 months, nine,
Oh,
10 months, right? But it takes so much, like, that's such a long game. Like, I'm, and I'm inundated with the today, the right now, the feed the family for tomorrow. And it's that balance that I'm struggling with the most. Where like I get 20 minutes to push the needle on the long term stuff, because all the short term stuff takes up 95% of my time.
mhm.
And that, my friend, is where I struggle the most.
Yeah, I was gonna say, boy, I wish I could solve that for you, but get a coach. No, I'm kidding.
Get a
No, and I really
I've set myself up for success. I'm just scared.
yeah.
I paid off my
Oh,
I paid off
dude.
my house, right? I paid off my house. I have $2,500 in bills. I have at least a year's worth of savings. So I don't know how to pull the band-aid.
That fear of success thing, man. It's it's it I'd like to think it's real about me. I don't know if I'm just like that's how I placate myself with that a little bit. No, but I was poking on the the amount of preparation it takes for teaching, right? To some people it comes very naturally or it's their background and it's like just kind of, not that they're not putting effort into it, but it's more rote and like if a marathoner can run a marathon because they constantly do it, right? And then for
Mhm,
people who maybe don't train all the time or don't have the background in it, it takes more. And when I was helping coordinate some training at a little HR company, one of the people said it was 8 hours of preparation for every hour of training, and that has absolutely lived up to it, right? It feels like almost anything you do that you produce that is going to be consumed later, that there's that ratio seems to stand, that it takes a tremendous amount of effort to create those really good products.
yeah.
That
I mean, the training, it's tough because you have there you I'll tell you a different story. At Team 23, I went and talked to Atlassian. I'm like, "Do you guys have a trainer program?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I get up in front of this audience on YouTube, right? I have 100,000 people watch my videos every month.
yeah, oh gosh.
Unique viewers, right? 100,000 unique people visit this channel every single month. You wouldn't know because nobody subscribes, but that's just YouTube in general, right? But my metrics tell me 100,000 unique viewers, about 150,000 views in total, right? So some people are watching 2 videos, but it's tough to stand in front and go, "Hey, this is how you estimate a story,"
Oh my gosh,
right?
right?
Such a controversial topic, and I got to put my neck out there, right? To just put it and make it. But I told that last time, I'm like, why don't you guys have like a here's how you're supposed to do it, or
Uh-huh.
training like a program because maybe even on the workflows, right? Because there's a plethora of different ways to create a workflow, right?
Yep.
Like same problem can be solved. Like if you were if somebody were to be in a room, I don't know. Have you heard what we're gonna do on the Jira Life? Little sidebar.
No.
So Brittany, so I'm so anti Trello. Just jokingly though, right? I always mess around with Brittany. I don't care for Trello, but when Brittany's in the room, I try to tell her how much I hate Trello just to
Right?
get the conversation going, right? And so last week she was on the Jira Life. Did you get a chance to jump on last week?
I was on vacation last week.
So you were on vacation. Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So
So on the Jira Life, we had a little friendly little debate there, and we're like, you know what? Why don't we do this? Why don't we ask the people to submit their real world business questions, and we
nice.
solve their problems using our respective tools. So I'll solve the problem using Jira. She'll solve it using Trello, right?
That's
And
awesome.
let's see who what comes out the other end, right? Because we're like, do you need Jira or do you need Trello, right? But the reason I'm telling you this, which I totally forgot now why we down this rabbit hole, is that if you were to have somebody like
Oh,
if
the
you
trainer.
no, but if like if you, me, Rodney, Bob, if we're all in the same room, right? All these Jira admins, and somebody's like, here's the problem, solve it, you're gonna get 5, 7, 10, 15 different solutions for the exact same problem. Because we all have
Exactly.
all you need, right? So that puts a tremendous when you're doing the training, puts a tremendous amount of pressure. I'm like, is what I'm teaching you the right way? Right? That's the biggest mystery.
Okay, so I think for me, some of the things is about not necessarily the right way, but so much even how to test later, right? Because if you've got all those people watching your training and you're telling them how to do something, equally important is all the things they got to figure out later, right? Like, I got to go test it and I got to make sure I didn't impact this, that, and that. So I would almost argue it's more about that than just the how to do it. Like, here's your, here's your arena to play in, right? And then how do you test it? Because testing, oh my lord, we could have another whole day on
Yeah.
just the testing aspect of things.
Sometimes, I mean, life would be so much easier if we can just take a bullet. I mean, a pill for everything, right? Like, I was thinking silver bullet, which is why I said bullet. But that silver
Exactly.
I like to tell people there's no silver bullet here, but yeah, if you could just take a knowledge pill, and this is why I'm optimistic that AI is not going to replace any of our jobs yet, because this level of criticality, I don't think AI is there yet.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much context, and even as a consultant, and people are, it's always the what are the best practices? How exactly do I do this? And it's the same thing. Like we know we know the technical pieces of how to do all of those things. But what we don't know is their entire configuration. We don't necessarily know all of their work processes, right? Especially if it's just a random email from somebody like, oh, hey, thanks for your help last year. We came across this and we want to do that. And it's like, we do our best job to tell you, what's possible. But there is no perfect answer because all the situations are just a little bit different. There's a lot of
Yeah, the
commonalities.
devil's in the details.
Yeah, there's a lot of commonalities, but yeah, but there's also a lot that it's like, "Ooh, well, we did," that one little setting right there
Yeah, just
could.
lots of little things. Yeah, so again, this is kind of why I was asking that last, and Mark Kruth and I've had this conversation because we're like, as AI enters, right, as a Jira admin, your job's going to be less and less. How do you add a status? How do you add a post function? And it's going to be more, should you add a status? Should you add a post function? Right? How do you coach these teams? Because uh, the amount of requests that I get, half of them, like I could write a book just on silly requests.
Right? Maybe that could be your Instagram or whatever it
I
is,
got
right?
so again, I have more ideas, Sarah, than I have the capacity to do. But for the last 2 years, I've had how not to Jira.
I love it. Where is that? Where do we find how not to
And
Jira?
it's in my head. It's on my whiteboard in front of me. Also, Brittany has given me the idea. I've been wanting to start a series of HIJ because it's
Which,
ABC. It's the letters, right? HIJ is in order. How
uh
I Jira. She has the How I Trello, and she's like, Alex, I can't believe you don't have How I Jira because it's HIJ. It's like the perfect three in row.
exactly. And it's like, because then you're taking people beyond just the ABCs. It's
Right.
it's that
Beyond
next
Jiro's
level of
ABCs.
learning.
HIJ, beyond
I
Jiro's ABCs.
I know. And that it's so hard to have all those ideas. Because I mean, you've seen a few of my questions in our Slack, right? Or things. I'm like, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? And then I realize I do think I probably would benefit from maybe investigating if I do have any kind of ADHD thing going on. Because
Your generation, ADHD didn't exist.
oh no, no, not in the same way. And and I've started watching some things on Instagram, not to be like Instagram as my diagnosis, but it's like, oh, I found my people.
It's that interest-based social graph or interest-based graph instead of a social graph that social networks used to be.
Oh my
Right?
God,
That's why
yeah,
you're able to find the interesting things for you. You can thank TikTok
truly.
for that.
Because I just want, I people are like, oh, and they do this and they do that, and I was like, not everybody does that. That's impossible. Like I thought literally everybody did all of these things. And then I'm learning, oh no. But then my fear is that I get tested and they're like, no, you're just that way. there's there's no diagnosis. You just are gonna have to solve your problems some other
But
way.
honestly, I think you're perfect just the way you are because we're at 58 minutes here, and I enjoy this conversation so much more than most conversations I have throughout my day. Right? I was looking forward to this one. I was sad that we scheduled this one a month out. I wanted to talk to you that day.
Well, and our challenge here though is like me being on vacation last week, right? This is low stakes. This is we can't do anything wrong here. Nobody's depending upon us. we
Right?
just hope, we just hope somebody watches it and goes, "Oh, that was nice." Although her camera kept blipping and that was annoying, so sorry y'all for
Is
that
that
one.
your camera? What's your camera doing?
I don't know. It's like see, I think it's a loose like it's
Loose cable?
it's so low tech. I think there's a loose wire somewhere. Like I gotta try turning it off and turning it on again, right? And see, I don't know why it keeps doing that.
I just thought you were just a simulation.
Exactly, exactly. See, and I can go again, references that you may or may not know. I'm just max headroom here. like an 80s filter on this
I
that makes it blip every now and again so it doesn't look too
I
modern.
had a manager once. I don't know the show, but you might know. This was my time in St. Louis, and I don't know what happened, but my manager's like, "What happened?" And I'm like, "Something bad happened." Right? I don't remember the exact details. And he's like, "I hate it when that happens." And I'm staring at him, and he's expecting like a reaction from me,
Yes,
and I'm like, mm, "Yeah,
right?
it sucks when it happens." But apparently, there was a TV show, and there was like a kid that would say like, "I hate it when this happens."
Yeah, and you said it, and I'm like, I can't pinpoint it, but I
Yeah, but
recognize
it was like
the
a 70s,
intonation
80s
of it.
show that I've never seen in my life, but he's like, "I hate it when this happens."
I know. So see, we can come back and we can talk about you guys could do a whole show on references between the generations, right? Like one's the worst is when I reference something and people are like, "Oh yeah, my mom, my mom talked about that."
What we need to do is a Mr. Beast style video of his 1 to 100,
Okay. I
right?
don't
But
know this particular one, but let's do
so
put them
Mr.
in.
Beast does a lot of well, he does a lot of videos, right? But he one of his more popular videos is where he takes a challenge where you have people ages 1 through 100. And I think it'd be so interesting to grab maybe not 1 through 100, but maybe like 18 through 100 and just grab Jira admins of every age and have them solve a problem and see how they all come up with different solutions based on their age.
Right? That could be, yeah, like what is and generation, is it like 10 or 12 years? You could do it generationally or yeah, just a bunch of different ages, I'm brand new to it. I've been doing it this or yeah, even years of experience within it.
Yeah, that would be crazy. I was talking to Mark Higgins last night, and he's like, "I got 40 years of IT experience," and I think he works not with you, not Valiances, but Valiances just acquired his company recently.
Glintac?
Yeah, the one with the G.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah,
The
so he
Australian
works there. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's in Australia. He's a great guy, but he's a ITSM solutions partner, right, or helps with the solutions. And we were talking about his job in the Atlassian ecosystem. He's like, I love it because I have my 40 years of how to run an IT company, and now I get to tell people how to use the Atlassian tools to help you run your company, right? And it's just like somebody how like I haven't even been alive for 40 years to provide that wealth of information.
Well, I look forward to meeting him because it
No, I'm
sounds
just saying like there's just I wasn't trying to make it but like that, but I'm just saying like I haven't even been alive as much as he has experience in that industry.
right?
We can't compete. There's just no way.
Well, it's just different though. It's just different.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing, but like I think I remember when I was at Boeing and even at Northrop, most of my time and energy went to hanging out with the 50 and up crew because I'm like I can't learn anything from another 20-year-old,
Yep.
right? And so all my relationships and all my friendships were with like the more senior people at the company because they'd been around the block a couple times.
Exactly, exactly. That was good for you to recognize, right? Because it's all about the respect both ways, and there's always and it's just the learning from the people who are different from you. Not that you couldn't learn something from one of your peers, but when you reach out to, the folks who have been there, or even I always recommend from different departments, right? Different areas that
Different,
aren't
yeah.
even the area you work in, but the challenges tend to be the challenges, right? No matter where you are, you just use different systems to solve them.
Well, Miss Sarah, thank you so much. I know
You
we've
are
gone a
welcome.
little bit over. Like I said, I wish we would have recorded our very first conversation as well. This would have been like a 2.5 hour ordeal.
But maybe we can do it again?
Absolutely. Whenever you want to do this. I don't know if I'm ever doing interviews ever again though. Did I tell
What?
you why I did these?
No.
So Atlassian screwed me over, as my common theme is, right? I'm
Okay.
sitting there at Team 24. Everybody's in the audience except for you because you weren't there, right? And hopefully you were watching online or something. And Atlassian makes an announcement that they're basically like, "Hey, um, we're changing the UI on Jira," right? And they didn't publicly announce it, but the screenshot that they were showing
Yeah.
clearly showed a different Jira, right? And the only thought that came to my mind is like, "Great, I got 600 videos I got to redo,"
Oh, God, I know.
right? So Anu says, in the next 2 to 3 months, we will be rolling this out. Well, that was roughly 2 months and 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
We haven't even gotten it yet, right? And so, as I was planning, because as you can see, I'm already planning September and beyond.
Yes.
So, as I was planning shortly after Teams, the summer bucket, like, how do I make videos on Jira without making videos on Jira? I know I'm going to interview 45 people, not knowing that that meant I'm sitting down for 45 hours, editing for 90.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Because my
'cause yeah,
traditional video is
you've got
10
the prep
minutes.
time, and then there's the due time, and then, if you wanna go back and edit it later.
Yeah, but I'm sitting. I told my wife, I'm like, look at it this way, because my dad's been complaining too. He's like, why are your videos an hour long? I'm like,
Good
because look at
point.
it this way. I now have 450 hours worth of content to go and like not work the rest of the year. Right? I just chop it up and just push them out
Yes.
in bits. Like every question we have that we talked today, it's a 2 to 3 minute clip. I have
Nice.
400 minimum 450 clips here to make.
Nice.
So
Well, now I feel like I should have maybe talked more. Or had better things to say and give you more content.
I I think this is what we enjoy about these interviews too. So this is the second year I do this. The
Mhm.
first year I only interview like 10 to 15 people of my closest friends, but it was the same 10 questions. They all
Yeah.
got the same 10 questions. And this year my wife's like every interview is so dynamic, so diverse, so personalized to that user. And I think I think it resonates better too.
It
But I'm
might.
trying to become like the master interviewer or something apparently.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard this. That's not to say you're not, but that's exciting.
Well, I get so what I will also tell you is in on the Jura Life, which we're gonna record in like 55 minutes,
Mhm.
we interview 50 people a year.
Yeah.
I'm knocking out 47, 48 in 100 days.
Yeah, that's incredible.
So
'Cause that's the other thing, I'm like, you're only getting 2 weeks vacation from the Jira life when a lot of typically you get, like, 4 now. What are you doing there, friend? But if you ever need another stand-in on the Jira life, let me know if anybody else
absolutely,
ever wants
we'll have
vacation.
another just have that or let's hope that Atlassian has another outage and you'll be part of our emergency meeting crew.
Yes. Do I get a special ring that we all get
I
to,
know,
like
right? Yeah, we gotta make t-shirts with like Among Us type of have you played Among Us?
exactly. I haven't. I maybe once.
Have you heard, like, they have, like you'll call an emergency meeting when you
Yes.
find a dead
Yes.
body? Yeah,
My
so
son has a T-shirt that says, like, "Red is acting sus."
yeah, so something along the lines, but we'll do an emergency meeting T-shirt with the Jira Life.
Perfect.
Alright.
Perfect.
Well, Mr. Again, thank you so much. I know we can go for,
Yes.
like, another 10 hours, but I probably
I
should go
know.
eat lunch
I will
and
see you
then
soon over on the Jira life.
This video was brought to you by Resolutions Out of Office for Jira. Check it out, and you can integrate your calendar and your HR platforms to delegate work automatically.